Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Let us move on to the next page, which has the back exercises. So, what is the poet experiencing in the poem? What was he experiencing? He was experiencing the writer's block. You know, that duration when a writer is not able to think of anything creative, anything new, that is the period that we call as a writer's block. Which of the following sayings reflects the message of the poem that you've just read? Now, this is something that I started my video lecture with. When one door closes, another opens. This is what God does for us. If there's one opportunity that comes to an end, there are multiple avenues that God gives to us. Okay. What has the poem taught you about getting your creative juices flowing again? So, what has this poem taught us? This poem has taught us that we need to keep our faith and our devotion in God very, very strong and firm. Why is it important to have a purpose in life? Because obviously, we need to have a purpose in life, because it is only because of the purpose that we have that we decide on the kind of life that we want to have in future. Unless and until I have a purpose, there is no goal that I have to reach. It is only because of a purpose that I know my aims and I strive for it. Okay. I thought that my voyage had come to its end, and the last limit of my power, that the path before me was closed. What voyage is the poet talking about? The voyage refers to the journey of Rabindranath Tagore of being a writer. So, the entire journey of being a writer is being talked about with the help of the word voyage. Why was he thinking so? Why did this thought come to his mind? Because he could not think of anything new or creative. He felt that all his ideas were exhausted. He felt that his creativity, the power of creating new things, was now not left with him any longer. Explain the second line. Okay, the second line is, at the last limit of my power, that the path before me was closed. As I have already explained this to you when I paraphrased the first stanza. So it simply says that according to Rabindranath Tagore, the last limit of his power, that is, his brain had died out thinking of new and creative ideas when it comes to writing, and he felt that now that there is nothing creative which is coming into his brain, he does not have a future ahead. He thought that his future was completely dark, that provisions were exhausted and the time come to take shelter in a silent obscurity. But I find that thy will knows no end in me. So when do you think the poet would have felt so? When did the poet start having such feelings? The poet started feeling so, he felt, when he did not get any new or creative ideas about writings. It is then when he had such, feelings and thoughts coming into his mind. Does the poet see better days after this? Yes, indeed. We have read this in the last stanza, in the second stanza, last line, that there was a new country that was waiting for him. So, though he had a writer's block and he could not think of creative ways of writing something, he became a music composer and he started creating wonderful music. Who is the poet talking to? As I told you at the very beginning, the poet is talking to God. Whose will does the poet refer to? So, whose will is the poet talking about? The poet talks about the will of God. What God wishes for the poet is what he is respecting and is expressing his gratitude for. To what does the poet compare his newfound ability to sing? So, what comparison? This ability of being a music composer, the ability of being a singer, what did he compare it with? He compared it with a new country. Remember, this is the first word of the very last line of your poem. So, he compares his ability of composing music, of being a singer, to a new country. Would you consider this a spiritual or a social poem? I would say that it is a spiritual poem in any case, under every circumstance, because in this poem the poet has expressed his utmost faith, his devotion, and his belief in God and his ways. He has simply taught us through this poem that we ought to believe in God. If God closes one door, there are multiple doors that He is going to open for us. We simply have to have faith in Him. We should believe in Him. And this is exactly what our poet Rabindranath Tagore went through in his life. When he felt that his imagination his creativity did not support him any longer, he was not able to write anything, his heart started creating music, and he became a music composer as well as a singer. So with this, my dear students, we come to the end of this poem, which is very small yet is very powerful. The poem has been explained to you well. The back exercises have been discussed with you at length. So I hope the poem is clear to you. I shall see you all now in my next lecture.